How are we doing, everyone? My name is Mitten, and as I said, I'm the co-founder of Crypt, and we're a creative studio that is helping brands partner with culture. So I kind of want to start off this talk by just giving a really quick run-through on who we are and how we work. So we work with two types of brands. We work with your market-leading brands, and with these guys, we partner with them. We're there to fill in the gaps and really help them realize their vision as businesses. They're very talented teams, and culture is part of the DNA of what they do. The second types of brands that we work with are challengers. So these are the ones who are trying to get back on top. Either they're new brands that are entering the market, or they're heritage brands that have been around for a long time, but they've really lost their way in terms of communicating to their audience. What we really get excited about as a studio is how we can match deep cultural insight and how that translates into creative strategy and brand experiences. For us, it's about having a level of hybrid thinking, understanding how insights will impact a deep strategy and how that actually comes to life through your creative. So let's just talk about what is the state of our industry right now. Fundamentally, guys, brands are being drowned out. And some of the latest statistics are showing that 75% of advertising is ignored. This is because advertising now isn't really representative of what people and real people want to be seeing. Culture is the connector. It's what we wear, it's how we talk, it's what we listen to, it's the technology that we interact with that changes our behaviors. And brands need to be differentiating themselves and really have clear identities on who they are, what they stand for, to even really stand a chance of having any sort of growth in culture now. Fundamentally, it is all about balancing growth with meaningful brand impact. So kind of getting into the insights now. So as a studio, we are constantly deep diving culture. We release regular editions looking at things like sustainability, Gen Z, gaming, retail trends, and we get deep into what is actually going on. Rather than just surface level insights, we try and figure out what is happening out there, and as brands and as marketers, we can then put that into our work. So I've got a couple of really interesting things that I want to show you guys today, and we've just released our latest insights piece, which is going to be on our website soon. And there's a couple of topics that I think would be really interesting. So the first one is a little bit more of our crystal ball, what's looking into the future and looking at internet culture, specifically with technology within influencer marketing. The second being a piece around what is in the hearts and minds of young people right now, and a bit of theory that we've developed called genre agnosticism, or simply put, shuffle mode. And the third one is looking at a bit more tactical. What is it across social that brands can be using right now to really cut through and think differently around how they're approaching their marketing? So internet culture is a bit of a mad one in 2024, and it's having a big moment and a shift. There's a lot to unpack within this topic, but specifically what I wanted to look at is new technology and how that's impacting influencer marketing, and specifically creative within that. So little Michaela came onto our screens in our news feeds in 2018 and reportedly made her creators as a virtual influencer over $10 million in her first year. It was an incredibly innovative piece of tech and an incredibly innovative campaign, and as a person, as a virtual influencer, it really was something different that we'd never seen before. But it didn't really have an impact on the mainstream. And in recent years, we've kind of shifted. Consumer behaviors and tastes have shifted towards being a bit more real and a bit more curated, whereas actually things like Be Real would never have existed before unless it was for this sort of trend. And what we wanted to see was these raw, unfiltered posts, which was looking into the keyhole of people's lives. However, even though this polished experience and polished appearance of little Michaela was incredible, it wasn't what we really wanted to be seeing. So what's changing right now? As our news feeds are being clogged up with more pictures of dogs and candid moments, we're seeing that there might be a bit of a peak in this, I guess, very gritty type of content. And this is going hand in hand with the number of technologies like AI and CGI that is emerging now. The lines between real and fake are being blurred quicker than ever before. And this is also having an impact on the content creators as well, in terms of how they're actually producing the work that they're doing. I mean, just an example, Dem Brothers, who's a TikToker, did a post around how it looks when he's on GTA, which is an incredibly creative campaign, but very strange as well. And what we're also seeing is that there's NPC live streamers that when they receive gifts are actually talking in quite a robotic voice. The irony of this whole thing is that AI, as AI is becoming more like humans are trying to be more like AI. This is also being championed by the fact that you can now make your virtual alter egos quicker than ever before. Platforms like Ready Player Me, Zepeto make the whole process extremely straightforward and something that's never really been able to be done before. And there's a number of different tools and guides online around how influencers are able to take these avatars and actually put them into their day-to-day content, whether it's live streaming or videos that they're making as well. And what was, I guess, previously only reserved for CGI influencers, or CGI specialists, now sits in the palm of lots of influencers' hands. A really important, I think, thing to look at here is that it is new technology and we are just scratching the surface of it in terms of becoming mainstream. But is it an opportunity or is it something that may be going a bit too far? And I think looking at different markets is an incredibly interesting space to look at. China has been pushing these boundaries for a long time, and the influencer Liu Run has been using a digital clone to engage her audience, over 1 million followers, for months now. And China's digital human market is expected to reach $1.5 billion by 2026. And according to forecasts, the Chinese live streamers she projected to generate approximately $689 billion in sales. That is a staggering number. And even though China is a completely different market with different, I guess, customs and trends that we might be seeing in the UK or in the US, it is a reflection of what could potentially be in these markets too. As I said, it's undoubtedly going to be a massive trend, and I guess some things to look at and some takeaways here is how is it that we can consider how to approach this sort of ideas properly. So collaboration with virtual influencers controlled by traceable, well-informed creators is going to be fundamental. As the technology becomes democratized, we need to be making sure that we're working with creators that are also authentic all the way along the chain. And what I mean by that is virtual influencers like Cami, for example, who is the first virtual influencer with Down syndrome and was created by using a collection of 100+ women's faces with Down syndrome pushed through a face averaging program to get one face. She's become a bit of a platform now, and as you can see there, the actual creator itself has Down syndrome. And it's a really interesting approach and way of thinking about how, as brands, you can, I guess, tackle and use virtual influencers to work with your diversity of supports. So the second insight that I want to run you through is, I guess, that idea of genre agnosticism, or what we simply put, shuffle mode. And this is where Gen Zs are shaping a world without genre. So as we continue to experiment with technology, art, creativity faster than we've ever seen, I mean, the world is in a complete state of flux right now. I think what's really interesting is how this is actually impacting what brands are doing. And we know Gen Z are not about being boxed into spaces. We've heard that for years now. But actually, that trend is being matured, and we're seeing what impact that really means in real life. And in order to, I guess, fundamentally understand cultural marketing properly, we need to understand that creative strategy and influence is a two-way street. And it's not really something that you can control. It's something that you can foster and manage, but it's not something that you can totally own. And there needs to be harmony between customer, community, and innovation. So I'm going to specifically look at the music industry because it's quite a good topic to look at in terms of a few different areas. So yeah, a few examples within this. I guess looking at where previously, any artists or creators were very worried about going into new paths, there is a much greater acceptance for appreciation. Looking at a macro level, look at Beyoncé, for example. Her latest collection of albums, Renaissance, which was a dance music album, Cowboy Carter was a country music album, and who knows, the third one might be something around K-pop. Another one that is quite good to look at is Fred again, and he uses, mix-up styles with native instruments to actually create these mashups of tracks, but he's now selling out places like Madison Square Garden and Alexandra Palace. Looking specifically at, I guess, this idea of art versus algorithm, which is how, the songs that we're actually listening to and what's being released now is completely being impacted by these trends that we're seeing. And last year, over 100 million songs on TikTok were analyzed, and they saw that a third of them were actually sped up or the pitch had been changed. And also, this is quite interesting to see how, I guess, other technology platforms are reacting to this. Spotify just did a release to see that actually customers who go onto the platform will be able to change the pitch, they'll be able to remix tracks, and actually put more control back into the hands of the people that are actually listening to the music. All in the goal, I guess, ultimately to engage to a younger audience. This is also translating into the experience economy. I mean, as a studio, we are in and out of culture and going to different events all the time. And one of the most impactful ones that we came across was Salt, which was at Drum Sheds in Tottenham around 6 months ago. It was done by the collective Salt, which is a mix-up of hip-hop, disco, R&B. But what you went through when you went to the experience was a cinematic journey of music, art, fashion, design, dance, and it was something that completely blew away everyone that went there. Look, I'm not trying to say that you have to, take over the drum sets every time you want to have a bit of impact into Gen Z, but I think it's the thinking that these guys go through in terms of what can we learn from that and actually put into our own work. And the idea is that it's quite an exciting opportunity. This whole idea of a genre agnosticism might seem quite daunting, but actually it's a huge opportunity where, as brands, if you do it right, you can actually appeal to a wider group of people than you've never been able to do before. So my final section is more around this idea called niche en masse, which is how niche is conquering the world. And the success of TikTok has essentially allowed pockets of culture and subcultures to thrive for mass consumption like we've never seen before. To be honest, what we're seeing now is the subcultures where the really good stuff is happening. And actually, they're creative playgrounds where they're never-ending sources of inspiration, and these weird and wacky ideas are actually the things that you can go into as brands and actually pull out into your own work for inspiration and to actually make you cut through. I think a great example of this is the work that Burberry's been doing and the fact they've gone through a recent brand refresh over the last year or so, but they've really unpacked what it means to be British and British heritage. And that's come out with the multiple different assets that they've been putting through with dog posts or the ducks or the fact that they did a photo shoot inside a fish and chip shop. And these are just interesting ways to tell engaging stories. Another example is Charlie XCX's 360, the latest track that she's released, which is basically all pinned around the idea of being the internet girl. And she had some of the biggest influencers right now who embody this internet girl within her music video. So I kind of wanted to just sort of wrap this bit up with a bit of a case study, and it's something that we've just launched. So we've been working with an incredible organization called On the Edge, and their whole mission is to reconnect people with nature. So we've dived into a few different spaces with these guys, from animation, short films, and our latest campaign was really about how we can place them within music. So we've all been told that Gen Z are very eco-conscious and they're very aware about sustainability and all the rest of it. But again, what did that actually mean on a deeper cultural level? And that's kind of where we started in terms of our research and insight, is actually looking at where these ideas of nature were turning up, where we could potentially place it on the edge at the very heart of. And music and nature have always had a deep connection. Through our network, we uncovered that there were a number of collectives and artists that had this very deep sort of resonance with nature and connected lifestyles that we thought we could actually use within our creative. So what we did is we created a platform called Rerouted, which is essentially around taking inner city creators into nature and giving them a series of live challenges. Our first installment was around essentially working with some really great talent to create an exclusive track and a live performance, which we then amplified through partnerships that we had, and then an event that we did in Brick Lane. The absolute key to this project was the partners that we worked with. As I was saying, like, you can work with some great people, but if they can't authentically communicate your message, then you're always going to miss the mark. So some of the people we worked with was a guy called Kambu and Ayama, who both are incredibly on-the-rise artists, and they're actually on the verge of, putting together their own green initiatives where they take young people out into nature as well. We worked with Oma Band, who gave a nice twist to the actual activation itself through live music. We did a collaboration with Bone Soda and Dijons, which is an amazing group within Shoreditch, and they host things like chess clubs, run clubs. So this real mix of different areas and inspirations and a celebration of nature and creativity. I think backing up the whole project was also just how we could really lean into the brand's tone of voice. So we did things like really interesting assets like Lana Del Rey, because it's all around championing that particular animal. So I kind of want to end it just to show you a couple of clips from what we did. We did an episodic series, which is going live now. So it's all around telling that story of inner city artists going into nature and then back again, and then again the live performance.
New voicemail from Leah.
Hey guys, hope you're all good. A little birdie told me that you're feeling low in ideas, but at the same time, you're always in the city. Oh. As beautiful as the city is, I feel like our generation has forgotten that there's more to life than cement and concrete.
Oh, exciting.
So I'm sending you into nature tomorrow.
Where we going?
Make sure to wrap up warm.
Oh, we made it. We made it. My background.
I'll see you out in the woods. Bye.
Cool. And then we've got the performance, a bit of a clip from that.
Hey.
For the trip, right in the water, I picked it up. Yeah, put it back on the thing. Won't let it burn. Was it fix its wings? Took a couple minutes, then they just blew up happening. Da, 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 da. Yeah, let go. Let it burn.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Good. No?
Wait. Oh, sorry.
Yo.
What are your thoughts on when you're saying like niche is getting more important, like the micro iteration of content where you can have one video and then have like 100 different versions of the same thing, or lots of iterations. Like, how do you think that's going to transition when like AI can automate content in that way?
So are you saying with almost like on the paid side of things, we've had like multiple...
Yeah, like, you can now turn one video into like 100 different hooks, etc. with like no effort. How do you think that's going to be like perceived on social channels? And also, like, how do you think it's going to work out for sort of micro-targeting?
So from our perspective, we look specifically at the creative. So for niche for us is about uncovering niche pockets of culture that we can use as part of, I guess, our creative thinking. With TikTok and the way it's grown and how deep people can go into various subcultures and communities, that for us is where the really exciting thing is happening. Going back to the fact that everything seems to be looking the same. You could be a car brand or a fashion brand or whatever. Everyone seems to use the same font, same typography, same images. And actually the need for differentiation is needed more than ever. I think especially with the creative thinking, we get a bit stagnant in the industry where we just see whatever our competitors are doing and then we'll copy them. And I think these niche subcultures specifically are where we need to be looking into and actually thinking about what is the things that our consumers are finding really interesting that we can draw on and maybe partner with and actually put into our own work. The idea of maybe putting out multiple ads as part of a strategy in terms of to do test and learning, that from my perspective is a good performance tactic. How that might be perceived from a consumer point of view, it might get a bit jarring if you're seeing multiple ads with different communication. But I think from a creative standpoint, it's an exciting opportunity where I guess the possibilities are a bit endless because, as I said, it's always about having that two-way communication with culture. And from a brand and marketer's side, just understanding what you are, what you want to be doing, and then seeing where is it that you can partner with people to realize your goals and visions, but also support them and what they're doing.
Hey.
Hello, mate.
Great talk, by the way.
Thank you.
Question around, so just at the back of that where you mentioned about ads. With the style of content that you're creating and the level of subculture that you're reaching, yes, that's very effective ads, but how do you do that within the organic space? How do you reach that same level of high quality content, really reaching that sub niche consistently, organically? But how do you produce that?
My whole thing, right, we go into briefs and creative sessions the whole time. And if we, at the end of the session, we don't have a concept that we think, even if a brand was not part of this, would it be cool? Then it's probably not going to be something that's going to resonate with your audience. Where you have to think about things is it going to be valuable in culture, even if a brand wasn't doing it? So from my perspective, if it's organic, if the idea is strong enough and the creative is strong enough, and then actually the brand is just promoting it and part of the journey, that's where we need to be starting. And I think that's fundamentally it. That's the parameters in which we think about things anyway. We're good? Okay. Thank you very much, guys. We're to stand.